Okay, now for most goods, if you think we talked for price elasticity of demand, we talked about normal goods. Now for most goods, Manisha, what would you anticipate would be the relationship between changing income and demand?
If income increases in demand also.
Okay, so that you would expect that, wouldn't you? If Y was to increase, then you might expect quantity demanded also to increase. Okay, now let's think about bread, milk, sugar, water, all these sort of the basic foodstuffs, if you will. If you get, let's say, you get an increase in your income, you get a pay rise, 10% pay rise, wow, imagine you got a 10% pay rise. Would you suddenly go out and splash all that newly found income, that newly found disposable income, would you suddenly rush out and buy, wow, I think I'll buy, instead of 5 loaves of bread this week, I'll buy 10, because I've got more income. Or instead of 2 pints of milk a day, I'll buy 4, because I've got more income. Manisha? Why not?
Because you don't need it.
Okay. Might you buy, instead of maybe 2 loaves of bread a week, might you possibly buy 3? Depending upon, where your start point is in your income. Not really? Okay. What about milk? Those staples? Okay. Right. So Manisha says not really. Okay. Well, maybe come back to that then. What then if your income rises? Quantity demanded is going to go up. So what things do you think would people suddenly rush out and spend all this newly found income on, Nathan? All right, luxury items like what?
New TV.
Okay, TV, television, yes. TV, is it? Anything else? Right, okay. That'll be some pay rise, yeah, possibly. TVs, what about summer holidays? Family holidays? So maybe you take the family away once a year, but you've had this new boost to your income, Dylan. Might you buy maybe 2?
Not this year.
Sorry?
Not this year.
Oh, he says not this year, ladies and gentlemen. This is the new star of Good Morning Emmanuel here. Not this year. Why not, Dylan? What's happening?
Global pandemic.
Oh, global. Sorry, I haven't been watching the news. Right. Okay. So, what about in normal? What about from next April? Right. We've just been listening to Sebastian Payne's podcast, and the lady who was being interviewed said that we could expect a return to normal next April, hopefully. What about next summer, Dylan? Yeah, you might have maybe instead of 1 family holiday, 2. Be nice, wouldn't it? Right, okay, so foreign holidays. What about if you were a 1-car family and then you got this pay rise, you thought, oh yes, this gives us the potential maybe to buy son or daughter a car or have 2 cars in the family, Scott?
Maybe.
Possibly, okay. Where would we buy that car from, Scott? Vertu Motors. Yeah, Vertu Motors. Okay, right. So, for some goods, when you get an increase in income, you might not buy much more at all. You might buy a little bit more, and then there are others. So rather than just having 1 foreign holiday, you might actually have 2. So in percentage terms, it's gone up 100%. So there's a big change there in the actual demand. Okay. What about then if your income goes up, but you then actually think, right, I don't want that anymore because I now can afford something else instead. Can you think of any circumstance based on when that might happen?
Maybe it could be something you use, but something that's cheap, and now that you can afford a better want the better one?
That's precisely it. So can you think of something along those lines?
Maybe a phone? I don't know.
Maybe a phone, possibly. Yes,
I mean,
sure.
could have some like DVD players and Blu-ray, because Blu-ray is like the better thing. You want less of the DVDs, more of the Blu-rays, even though it's a bit more expensive.
Yeah. So DVD players and Blu-ray, you then get more income and you think, oh, wow, this is my opportunity to upgrade into better quality good or service. Correct? Okay. Dylan, you think of anything else in a similar vein?
Like old technology, just improve it.
So, for example, sorry,
Like a laptop or computer.
a laptop. Okay. All right. So you get a pay rise and then you think, right, I'm going to get rid of my whatever type of computer, my ZX Spectrum, right, from 1985, and I'm going to upgrade to an Apple. Okay. So what's the name given to this type of good then? One for which your income is going up, but you're actually buying less, Scott? Inferior, thank you. So we've got inferior goods. Now, if we were to sort of plug that into our equation, percentage change in quantity demanded, what's going to happen to the demand for an inferior good? It's going to fall. At the same time, Henry, as your income is going up. So the outcome of that is going to be positive or negative? Negative. So very important, particularly when you're looking at multiple choice questions, is as soon as you see a number, an answer for YED, and it says, minus whatever it might be, minus 2 or whatever it is. Well, because you see the minus symbol there straight away, you know automatically, right, this is an inferior good, as soon as you see the minus sign. Now, don't obviously get that confused with PED, which is always minus, but as long as it's income elasticity of demand, you can look at that immediately and say, all right, that's inferior good. So if that's inferior, what would be a sort of, Nathan mentioned the word luxuries when he talked about TVs and foreign holidays, but what would another term be to describe these items for which you might double the amount? You might increase by hundreds of % the amount of them that you're buying. Rather than being inferior, they are superior. Exactly. Superior. Now again, let's plug this into said formula. Percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in income. So you might, let's say you get, 30% rise in your income. So you've got quite a lot more disposable income to spend, let's say, on a foreign holiday or foreign holidays. And so rather than just having one foreign holiday, you might choose to have 2 foreign holidays instead. And so what number could we plug in on the top for the quantity demanded increasing by? Nathan? Okay, so might get a 100% rise there, so you might buy 2 instead of 1 or something. Now the value of that, we don't need to have the exact number in this particular instance. So 100 over 30 is
10 thirds. Just over.
Yeah. 3 1/3, 3.33333, right? So, is it greater than 1? Yes. And that's the key point here. So, a minus number is key here. This, if it's greater than 1, so if the outcome of your income elasticity of demand equation is greater than 1, you immediately know we are talking about superior goods, luxury goods, as Nathan mentioned. And then that leaves us with, well, what about these things here, the sort of things that you're not going to rush out and buy more of, loads more of them. You're not going to stuff your basket of goods with more and more loaves of bread, unless you're filling the freezer or stocking up in the midst of I think you mentioned something about a pandemic, Dylan. But unless that's happening, you might buy a little bit more. So what would you expect, if this is the equation we're looking at, these types of goods, if your income went up by 10%, how much might the quantity demanded go up for biscuits or crisps or just sort of things that possibly a coffee from Costa or Starbucks. Okay, so you get a bit more income. You're not going to go splashing it all on these things because there's only so much of these things that you need. But you might spend a bit more, so you might increase your demand by 5%. Now in that case, the outcome of that is beta. So we've got 5 over 10.
0.5.
Right, so we've got a half there, 0.5. And that, of course, beta 0.5 is less than 1. Okay? So if it's the outcome for YED is less than 1, we're not talking about inferior, we're not talking about superior, we're talking about these types of things here, just normal goods, things that you're going to buy every day in, day out. They sort of make the world go round, go crazy on them when you get some more income, but at the same time, yeah, you might buy a little bit more of them. We're talking about just normal goods here, these ones.